Welcome to the Art of Rising, where transformation meets truth, and each story is a spark in life. So, we're here with a powerful brother, Reggie Hilliard. He's an author, visionary, and an architect of self mastery. He's been working on this book and it is outstanding. He is the author of this book, which is 50 Powerful Quotes. Now, it's not just a book on quotes, this is a blueprint for unlocking your unlimited potential. So, Brother Reggie, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Beautiful thing. I like that intro. And as you say, blueprint, great word because this is what happened. I blueprint onto the page and it created
Mm.
a blueprint for life. And
Oh, I
that is
love
another,
that.
that's another inspiration that came to me. Blueprint,
Mm.
blueprint created this
You
piece
blue
of work that
print.
I know can inspire, transform many lives. It's just a matter of people deciding to open
Mhm.
themselves up to it. And if they open themselves up to it and take it in and actually follow what is being proposed or what is being given to them, they can definitely see their lives dramatically shift. That's not an
Yes.
understatement because it is partly my life. It's a part of me, but that book is enough to put you on a whole different trajectory.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a bit about that? Like, what inspired you to write this book, 50 Powerful Quotes?
Oh, so I've had books in me for many years, and this is a shorter version of the story. I create these quotes, and I have been creating these quotes. Actually, before this, me giving and creating my own quotes, I was using other people's quotes and sending them out to people every day, which I haven't been doing the same rate. I was doing this every day from Monday to Friday for 8.5 years. Didn't miss a single Monday through Friday. And there
Mm.
was a point where, like I said, I started with other people's quotes, and then I had a friend say, "Yo, you're constantly giving out this powerful information. Why don't you go deep into yourself and create your own quotes?" So that's where the evolution of my own quotes came. And somewhere in that period of 8.5 years, somewhere several years in or so, I flipped to my own quotes. And then I just created all these quotes, built on them, built on them. Then just, again, many books inside of me. Which book am I going to start with? My
Mm.
friend has a book that has a similar format, but it's not quotes. And it has to do with just like the text somewhat similar. And then there's this reflection. So as I'm going through the process, okay, I had that book in mind. Another friend was like, she came up with a idea of a book that had something along the lines of some information and then reflections in the end or what have you. So then I kind of used that template and
Mm.
I came up with my own template, which is essentially, you know what, let's take some of these quotes and put them into a book. I did that. I had the quote, and then behind the quote, because the quote is just a quote, but the quote has a lot in it. It's not just a quote. It's like usually double entendres and triple entendres, and there's some meat in it. It's meant to, as I would say, TMI is part of it: touch, move, and inspire you, as well as to like raise you, all that, right? Anything you can. These quotes could be any one of a different type of quotes that can do a number of help to kind of do a number of different things for you. So
Mm.
anyway, I pulled 50 of the hundreds of quotes that I had, and I didn't even like really. I just kind of picked them and not like really like, oh, let me take this and that one. It just came to me,
Mm.
put them
Mm.
into the book, and then as what I was saying was that I took the quotes, I have the quote itself, and then I built upon the quote, right? Well, actually,
Mhm.
I forget which order is the quote, and I built upon the quote, and then I have or it was that in the short lesson or vice versa, and then a takeaway, which is like the call to action, and then the period after every quote where you can do a reflection. So it's like taking all of that information, and then you take it upon yourself to sit down with that and see what it means to you, and so you build out on it. But and even the title I used, I have my own sort of like, how do I want to put this title together, and some of that was like sort of my own inspiration or creativity, and then I also use Chat GPT. Somehow we came up with this title. So it's 50 to 100, infinity within, 50 quotes,
Mm.
100% achievement, endless potential.
Mm. Mm.
That's
Yeah,
the shortest version what I can give you, to
that's
why how this book came about.
that's beautiful, brother. Because I do believe that we all have books inside of us, and they need to come out. If we have the ability to put words together and express ourselves in a positive way, then we should. And I have some myself, and they're right there, brother. And I also learned that when the universe gives you something, if you don't act upon it, then it'll just move to someone else. So why not us? Let us do it. You know?
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So you speak about the limitless potential that people have. So tell me, what does this mean to you in an everyday, scenarios?
So that topic, so the book, part of the book, as I said, 50 to 100, infinity within, and infinity is the all, right? And all, we could start getting into spirituality, God, and that type of thing. But I'll just keep it very, simple and say that like it's the all, everything you can imagine, right? And even in that word imagine, it says, I am a genie, right? So imagine says, I am a genie, if you spell it out, or I am a magi, and a magi is a sorcerer. And even in that word, I imagine is the word magic. So what is that saying with magic? If you really get it, embody it, understand it, it's saying you could create anything. You can create anything. So the limitlessness is it really comes down to, if you're not blocked by what I call lessons, which are lessons, which are things that you get taught that typically are lessening yourself, lessens, then you will be able to tap the limitlessness within you, because there's nothing you cannot think of, there's nothing you cannot dream of, there's nothing you cannot imagine, right? And even if you start to think about it, we come from everything, right? Like the body falls back into a disintegrates back into the earth, and then that body can become any number of different things. Could become somebody's shoes tomorrow, somebody's chair, a boat, a car. Somebody goes into someone's food, right? But then if you look at all the world, you can see all of what comes into the world. Less the world itself comes out of the imagination of people, right? And so, how many things can you think of? How many things can you dream of? How many things can you imagine? There's no number to that. So limitlessness is really just saying you have that all in you. And the thing that you have to then overcome, if you're having trouble accessing that limitlessness or that infinity,
Hmm.
are the things that are the lessons, which are lessening you from thinking or understand, helping you to understand that you don't have access to everything.
That would be my next question, actually. How does someone measure or even recognize their 100% of their capabilities?
So in the book, I touch on, I say 100% achievement, and this is like a foundational thing, because there's more. I didn't get into like using your imagination and all that. I gave them something to work with, which is the baseline, right? And it's enough to get to a very solid place. So there are a number of tools you can use, even beyond just, well, there are a number of tools you can use, whether it's affirmations, whether it's meditation, whether it's certain types of breathing, whether it's just application of things that are in the earth. We call them plant medicines or what have you, whether it be sitting silently, right? Aside from meditation, just sitting silent, I mean, which is could be considered a form of meditation, whether it be different modalities like sound baths and deprivation tanks and all of these things. And some of us will ask, what is all of this? But if you were to just even do a search, if you cannot find yourself sitting with yourself and asking from within, because really the answers are within. The truth of it is, if you just sat with yourself and asked, hey, please, God, whatever way you want to term it up, because it really comes down to you sitting and asking, and sitting silently, or just sitting with yourself and being in a state of awareness, being in the state of consciousness, being in the state of openness, answers will come to you. Now, if you want to go a different route, which a lot of us tend to do, maybe going outside, start Googling this stuff. And you'll say, how do I get to the level of ascension to be able to do this? And how can I find all the answers or whatever? And the Googles and these other systems, or applications that we use, or research tools, will give you some answers that are similar to what I'm getting at. But the real ultimate answers are inside of you. You are the ultimate Google. You're the ultimate everything. So just ask, and you will start to see how you can access this stuff. And the funny thing is, some people will ask me these things. How did you find this? And how did you find that? And I'm like, it came to me because I asked. And so you become a magnet for the things that you ask for. This is really that simple, but we make it hard because there are things that are around us that are like
Distractions.
Yeah, keeping that away from us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They want to keep us like that. I for sure. But you become your own alchemist, and it seems like this is what you've been doing.
That's one of my favorite words. I call myself an alchemist. Among many things that I say, not to give myself one label, but yes, alchemy.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite powerful when we look inside, and but there's plenty of people too that they feel stuck, disconnected, from their life's purpose because of those distractions or something like that. But what advice would your book give, or how would your book, how would someone use it as a powerful tool to unlock some of these things?
Well, goes back to partly what I said. First, being open, because someone may listen to or read my book and it may not really penetrate them because they're just like, you're saying be great every day. You're saying walk into a room and act like you're meant to be there. You're saying be your greatest self. You're saying wake up and win. You're saying, I'm the great, whatever words I'm putting together, like, and some people don't, because of something that has been given them that is not, and they didn't need anything, because as I would say, you came into the world fine, and then people end up trying to define themselves. There's no defining. You don't need to be defined with labels and I'm a this and I'm a Democrat and I'm a not. You weren't any of that. You came into the body complete already. So to use the book, you first have to get to a space of I'm open, right? I'm open to receiving what this message is. Because if you don't open yourself to receiving them to receive the message, you will stop yourself right at the door, right? But if you open your mind and say, I'm open, I'm ready, I'm going to take this in, and this could be for anything, right? You take a hammer and you try to like make scrambled eggs, it's not going to work very well, right? So that's
I love
knowledge
that.
of the tool, right? Yeah, knowledge of the tool as the individual, right? And then you use the tool, that's not the right tool. But this tool would be the right tool. I know that. So then what does it come down to? It comes down to you, your state of mind, your state of being, right? So you're saying you feel disconnected. Well, first I would say be open, right? Because now if you're going to pick up the book saying, I would like to have this book help me in the process of moving forward to be a better person, to be able to, get and tap into this infinite self so that I can be the person I want to be and do the things I want to do. Well, first be open to inviting that book to help you in that process. If you allow yourself to be open, to allow the book to be a tool for you to use, then as you read it, or if you listen to it, because I have a readable version and an audible version, you'll start to understand, or you'll start to even feel. There's nothing to even understand, because it's like this is truth that I'm speaking. You take that truth and you apply that truth. It's like magic unfolding. And earlier I talked about you being a magician, the imagination, right? So you don't have to tap this imagination in this mind when you close your eyes, what have you. But there's a magic component to this, where because you're following these certain ways of life, and the life that you'll be following is in tune or in alignment with where what the things that we ideally should be doing in terms of like living, where we care about ourselves and where we eat properly and think properly and share with each other and raise people up. There's a return you get from that automatically, and a lot of us, it's hard for us to know or see that because we don't live that way. But I do live that way in many ways, so I see returns that you start to feel like so elated and so empowered, right? So the book can offer that if you open yourself up to it. Now you start to read it or listen to it and you actually embody it, and then you start to see how the magic unfolds in your life and how you start to transform and feel like a better person, feel more exuberant and excited about life and things like that. And you'll start to become a magnet for the things that you want. And this is where, when you talk about coming into a purpose, the magnetized effect of who you're becoming or what you're being will automatically bring to you the things, the people, the books, the situations, the circumstances, and all that stuff that's going to feed you and allow you to be the way that you need to be in all aspects.
I also find that the book, for me, it gives me like more clarity. It just seems to clear things and move like the garbage out of the way. Like it just makes a way, and just I get to see things much more clear and go, of course, like that. That's how you do it,
Yeah. There's a divine connect that I got to be able to set that book up that way. And I listened to it and I'm even like, wow, this is pretty good, and it's not like just like sitting here like, hey, I'm the man, but really listening to it, I'm like, I know this book can do some serious good for people. Just please, get it in whatever capacity, and be open, and you'll start to see some things happen in your life. I'm living it, so I'm sharing a part of my life, and people watch and look at me, but they won't necessarily ask, and they're saying like, something's different. Your energy, you look so clear, you look so patient, you look so this, you look so that. I'm like, this is the practice. This is the living component, the knowing. Not like just talking about stuff. I'm actually putting in the time every day to put these things to practice to where it's actually making an effect in my world. And then that world can then resonate in other people's worlds. Or
I love that.
Resonates in other people's worlds.
That's beautiful. You know, I think of Buddhists. Where my father, he was a practicing Buddhist, and every time he would meet another Buddhist, he would go, "Oh, how's your practice going?" You know, and I always love that about like you're practicing. That's it. Like, are you on it? Are you on the grind? Are you on your focus? Are you are you practicing? Are you unfolding it? Like, let's go. You know, I love that.
Look at that word as you said it. Even in this sounds, and people don't think about the words, but like, what do you call a lawyer's business, if you will, or a doctor's business? What do they call it? A
practice.
They're not flawless in what they're doing. You're constantly at it, and the better you practice, like they say, like practice doesn't make perfect; it's better practice. So a perfect practice makes better, right? So you want to do it. So that's the thing. Like I'm practicing it, but the practice that I have going on is pretty good. I feel really good about it, and I just keep at it. You know, we just keep adding.
You know, there's one thing about the book and the quotes and this practice also that I'm doing is that, you know, there has been days just lately that have been just absolutely stunning, Reggie. I kid you not. Like I'm beside myself. Like everything is just wonderful. It's a great day. There's struggles. Of course, there's some things that come up that someone would perceive as like, oh, that sucks, or, you know, stuff. But just that practice.
Mindset. Even with that, when your consciousness raises, the thing that you might have called sucky or whatever, you don't even use those words anymore because your mindset is geared now towards what am I learning from this? Why did this come to me? Not like, why did this come to me? But like, yo, why did this come to me? Oh, and when you're open, receptive, intentional, the lesson, the real lesson, not the lessening, but the lesson gets taught to you, and you go, and you don't get through this life without getting a lesson done. And if you don't get it done, you come back in a reincarnated life, because that's the thing of this life. You got to like learn these things. Right. So the more you could be conscious, when you raise your consciousness, you start to get things. And the more conscious you are, the more, and then you could even just say like, I'm just having a great day all the time. And it's actually your day. Your life is, it doesn't matter what comes up. You're just like, you're to deal with it accordingly without it dropping your energy to a state where you're like, what people say, my day is ruined. Your day is ruined from one thing that happened for 2 minutes. You're going to declare that spell over your day. No, this book is meant to help you to raise your consciousness overall. And once you start to, and this is level 1 or plan 1 or the first book, there's more to it because you can build on that. And then you can get to a state where you can always feel good and free and loving and kind and those types of things, which is what I practice, right? And it worked. Like you say, stunning days. That's a beautiful remark. I have days stunning.
Yeah, stunning, man. Just yes. And I love it. And it's just that practice, you know, of things that come your way and how is it that you're going to react? You know, like, hey, if I got a phone call and they told me, hey, Omar, they're sending you, you know, $2 billion. Okay, great. Like, yeah, I'd be elated and happy. But, you know, at some point, something's going to come along the way that I'm going to have some challenges. Right. But then it's up to me. How is it that I react to those things?
You get a choice.
Yeah.
You always get a choice.
Yeah. We have free will and stuff like that. Yeah. So how about you? You said that you were also listening to the book and going over it and feeling the power from it. You know, are there any quotes that continue to guide you, or some of them that you find challenging personally?
Well, I wouldn't say challenging. I mean, the quotes came directly out of me, inspired. Sometimes like it's funny because I'll attempt to recall and I was like, what's that quote? Because I have so many quotes. But it's funny, because sometimes I really attempt to like share something with someone. I'm like, my book I said, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I won't get the exact words, but it's in there. Like it eventually comes to the surface. There's a one that I talk about in summary, or to kind of paraphrase or say it differently, is like live your life not really to grandstand, but just to live it in the way that you want to live, right? So that's an embodiment of like, just go out there and be who you are, right? And I talk about in other quotes that align with that, like, basically about being yourself you know, and you can't be anyone else, whatever, right? And if you just be that self, and I'm just now putting several things together in terms of quotes in the package of the book with like authenticity, right? Just like, you know, being good with like coming into a situation, a room, and like knowing that you belong there and knowing that your words are meaningful and you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
wait to be spoken to, or you don't have to be wait to be told to talk. Like, you know, again, this is an embodiment somewhat of the book. So I say things like that. So it's like the package of that lives in me. And that's how I kind of move about things. And so certain people will see me that are like more in tune. Some other people may like it may rub them a little because they're like, yo, you got too much energy, right? And that doesn't make any sense. And other people, it's inviting to them because they're like, man, like, because I went to a sound bath the other day and this woman was like, she did the sound bath, and after we spoke, and she was just like, man, like you just seem like, you know, like you're solid, right? Oh, she didn't use that word, but that's one of my words. And she was like, I was like, yeah, I mean, I just do this stuff for extra credit, you know, these sound baths, whatever, because I feel it's kind of like you don't wait to your weak to ask for strength. Like you're strong and you keep asking for strength. So the sound bath is like I'm already feeling really good and in tune with the universe or with everything, with, you know, just being in tune. So let me just keep going. Let me keep building. Let me not wait, you know, drop off for 6 months and then no, we're gonna keep this as a steady everything thing. So the book is for me overall living it, and so not one specific quote, you know, and not even just having to rattle off like specific quotes, but knowing that that came out of me as it was a part of my creation. And so like for me, it was like the key thing was like put it out there and put myself on the line, right? Like I'm putting this book out and look at what the content of it is, and then like let me live this every day, but not be concerned with like if one of this part of the book or a certain part where I'm like falling off and someone says, oh, you're not even living like what you say, because that's nonsense, right?
Right. That's nonsense.
Like I said, and I was practicing and I kind of slipped up. I'm going to jump right back on because I'm so aware. I'm not going to slip up for like 8 weeks or 10 months, whatever. Might be like a 5 minute thing. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Got it. You know?
Right. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right.
It's knowing. Knowing is living and doing for me.
Right.
Not I know it, but I'm sitting here and we're sitting there and the very things that we're doing don't exhibit that. If I know it, we know it, we're actually showing it. Knowing it is showing it.
It's like the realization, right? Because they speak about, you know, being enlightened or awakened, right? So it's like that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you know, the things you speak about is like it's a knowing. Like once you know, it's like the light bulb goes on in the room. Like you're awake a little bit more as opposed to unconscious, like most people are.
Yeah, and it's your lifestyle, like you said. So it's like the things that are showing up with you each and every day or often, where it's like it's not something that's sitting in your head, and you know it's like, oh, I know I shouldn't be eating this, but like you're eating it. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but you're doing it. Because if you say I know I shouldn't be, that means you actually are, which means you don't know it. And people will say, oh, I know that already, but knowing is not being resident or evident in your life. So therefore, it's not knowing. It's just you having a bag of information or a book of info or a container or whatever, however way you want to store it. But it's basically just sitting dormant.
Yeah, some people compare some of these things to being awake, right? Like I usually tell people, for instance, most people are just walking around sleeping. They look like they're awake, you know, but they're not. They're really unconscious. You
Yeah.
know, and because when they say something to you that's hurtful or disrespectful or painful, but if they were awake, they wouldn't normally say that to someone.
Yeah.
It's because they're unconscious.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Because when we understand the word unconscious, like what are we talking about? We're talking about an aspect of self. We're talking about like not being tapped in, where on your conscious level, the things that you should be or could be accessing on a day in and a day out basis are not available to you. Right. So that comes in the form of when you start saying certain things and when you start doing certain things, it's clearly evident from the fact that you're doing this or saying this based on the fact of where you're not aware of A, B, and C. And another part is why people may do certain things because they may be doing it because they're afraid to do the other thing, or because of reasons like they want to fit in with the crowd over here or whatever it may be. And so it requires even like a level of strength and courage, you know, to be able to access that if you even know or if you're even aware of it. So, that's when you start walking in your power and walking in your truth and authenticity. And that's something that it starts to create ripples. And for some people, it pushes them away. And for others, brings them to you because they're just so fascinated with the fact that, like, you're living that way, even though they can do it too. They're just not ready.
Right.
So you become the leader.
I do find all that fascinating myself. Like, who am I, and who am I becoming, and are there any limits? What can I push myself to be or to do or to create? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's their consciousness. Elevating the consciousness.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about that. About elevating consciousness and how does that lead into a purposeful life for you?
So as I would say, well, so this could go pretty deep pretty fast. So one thing I did for me was I did a Kundalini activation, and Kundalini has to do with like the energy that's kind of runs around through your body in sort of like snake fashion, right? Snake kind of going through. And we have what we call like energy centers, like chi energy centers, which if we understand and know about Kundalini, and we know about the what's the word I'm looking for? But like the chi, the different levels of energy, right? And there's 7 that like run up and down your spine. From
The
base
chakras, the chakras.
Yeah, I was getting at the chakras. So if you know about the chakras, and down at the base of your spine is the root chakra, and you go all the way up your spine until you hit the top, and that's what they call the crown chakra, which is like God consciousness, right? So the more conscious you are, you start to move up through those, energy. The energy starts to move up through you, and you hit the crown chakra, and then this is where you start to active. You're active at the point where you kind of like really know stuff, like really know stuff. That's all I can say. So the more conscious you are, it's just things that it's not like you need a dictionary or Google or whatever. You just feel it. It just exudes. It come from you. It just comes to you automatically or comes out of you. And so and this is where, even if you're unblocked, you sit with yourself, you do these types of exercises and stop saying, oh, I don't want to, or I don't like to be by myself, or whatever, right? Which is stuff that the way to seek is not out but in, right? You do those types of things, you're going to be able to actively go in and find yourself and find this consciousness, or get to the state of consciousness. And it also helps to be clearer if you eat better, if you're not putting all these toxins in your body, if you allow yourself to have a clearer third eye or pineal gland, like again clearing that from like releasing the toxins, and the other ways you can do it. You start to really go in there, and you really be able to you're really able to access this infinity, as I keep saying that word. And so the answers are within. I mean, I could say this so many ways, but it's really a simple way to say it. And how do you go within? Well, I say this some of those ways, partly through your lifestyle with like eating cleaner, not bringing all those pollutions and toxins. And on top of that, it could be TV you're watching, books you're reading. It could be conversations you're having. Those are toxins, or they can be, especially if the contents of them is not wholesome and best for your body, and doing damage to your body. Then you could, stay away from just, or not even stay away, as I said, stay away from some of those things. But then also on top of that, you then read better books and eat better food, right? And have better conversations, right? If you're going to do that, just make sure those are the things. But then now it's not always like the participation in those things. It's more of like also then sitting with yourself, as I said, with the meditation, with the, sitting quietly, with the doing things like affirmations and things like that. You can really get into that, right? That's really going to help. Prayer, of course, we won't forget that. Really just praying, right? Not necessarily asking for like all this like money type stuff, but just asking for the knowledge and awareness, so that you can be able to tap the infinity inside of you to be able to get all the stuff and use it purposefully. And right, you start to do that, and even asking for your purpose is something you can receive. But be open, be intentional. And one major thing to be, which I use so much, and this will be the first time I'm stating it tonight, surprisingly, is be grateful. Unlimited gratitude and thankfulness. Gratitude is like one of the key ingredients to being able to receive things in life. Like I literally say, and it's actually more, great thank you like hundreds of times a day. But I actually say it more and catch this bar, because you can take a something that you say and say the equivalent of what you say is infinity or a million times. Because think about what they do in like creating a map on a screen. The map, right? They'll show you a piece of on a map where up in the legend where they'll say this amount equates to 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So think about what I'm saying here is that if you can then take a map on the screen, which obviously you're not capturing the whole world on the screen, right? Like, because the world is bigger than the on screen, but you
Right.
can use tools to say that if you take an inch of this screen, that equates to 100 miles or 1,000 miles, so that you can incorporate the whole of the world in terms of like trying to capture what the distance is from point A to point B. So what I'm saying when I say thank you, I could say one thank you is like me saying a million thank yous, right? Because I'm creating my own laws, my own legend, right? And this is what I do. So I'll say thank you, but when I say hundreds of times. If I said it 100 times, I'm actually saying it way more. But I'll share with people often without it being in an interview to kind of break this down. And I'll say maybe to someone else just in person, yeah, I say thank you hundreds of times, but I know I'm actually saying it way more because of the legend that I've created that says one thank you equals, and I actually said equals infinite thank yous. Right. And there's more to my whole thing here. I'm just sharing this piece of it because I would like more people to kind of be aware of some of the things I'm doing, because like this Mysterio guy somewhat, like, you know, a little bit of an enigma, but at the same time I'm very outgoing and stuff. But there's some other side of me where people like, Reggie's different, and this is the different stuff. This is a little bit of it. There's way more, but if I would just let people to some of where I am, that they can begin to see like, wow, okay, this guy, yeah, okay, he's definitely something different going on here.
Right. Right, which is beautiful. And for me, the gratitude, it's a huge heart opener. Like I could just feel it, just like opening my heart, bro. Like my
sometimes I cry.
emotions, yeah, me too. Just so grateful for what? For life, for breath.
For everything.
I'm walking. I'm
For
writing.
everything.
I'm eating. I have food, clothes. I mean, my family. Oh man, it just goes on.
I did a sound bath Sunday night for 2 hours. Well, it was a 2 hour sound bath, but there were some other things going on. And I'm not sure everyone knows what a sound bath, and I don't want to go through the whole definition of a sound bath, but basically sounds that are played at certain levels of frequencies, what have you, and your body's in basically filled with organs, they're instruments, and your body should be in tune with the universal.
I love that.
The universal song. So a lot of times we're out of step with the universal song because of our lifestyle stresses and food and different things we're eating. So you agitated, you're this, you're that, you're all out of whack. And if you go to sound baths, maybe sometime initially, or at least in part, you may be agitated by some of the sounds because of the out of stepness that you are with the in tuneness with the sounds of the instruments that are in tune with the universe. But if you go enough, or if you start to better your lifestyle, you start to be more resonant with the sounds. So in any case, I'm always pretty much in tune with the sounds, other than like if there's a certain sound that's like triggering, for example, like my throat, which is telling me like at the throat chakra, because one of the sound, the instruments they align with the different chakras, as I talked about a little while ago. And one of them is a bowl. If they play these certain bowls, if they do it in the sound bath, there's one bowl that's the throat chakra. And in one particular, a couple different cases, like my throat was triggered by that, but it was just saying for me it's basically saying for me to speak more, to be more outspoken about some of the things that I know about, and even to be more quote unquote controversial if I have to be, because sometimes people are trying to shut down the things that I'm saying that I know. But in any case, not to go too far. So what I was getting at, to come back to where I was that I did a sound bath on Sunday night, 2 hours, and I was tearing a lot. And really all that was tears of gratitude. I just kept, my face kept just like tears kept coming down. I was wiping, and I shared that with the practitioner at the end. I was like, it's just tears of gratitude, because my life is so phenomenal and I'm just so grateful. But I put in the work to get to this point, to understand and raise my business and asking for it, that I can like orchestrate and architect, as you used the word architect earlier, this certain lifestyle that it like, there are days where I'm crying inside, or actually cry outside, because it's magical, you know.
That's beautiful. You know, Reggie, perhaps you can tell me your journey. Was there a point that something happened and the light went on, or was it a progression of steps, or was it a mixture, or none of the above?
It's all of that, and it goes way back. So I don't know who's going to hear this interview, but we'll share a little, of lifestyle going back to when I was a kid, and just to say like certain things that happen, whether certain traumas that you pick up as a child, not going so deep into my family structure or my family history, but certain things that happened to you as a child from like your mom yelling at you and different things, or your father, right? Or in my case, those things happening again, not going so deep into it. So like childhood traumas, right? And then as I went along in life, was doing pretty well in school, like really well. At some point, valedictorian, my junior high school, stuff like that. I went to high school, did pretty well. But along the way, I was starting to kind of like have these thoughts about life, and you start to feel a certain way. And it was me like coping or attempting to cope with the dynamic of life and growing up in poverty and stuff like that, and growing up without my father and those types of things. So, that kept going. I was introduced to certain, I had, like questions that I was asking, and, having openness to wanting to know answers, and certain books come to me, and, I would read some of them and conversations, and again, just keep going, but still filled with certain levels of trauma and things because you didn't fix that. And so get to high school, did decent, whatever, went to college. More things start to come up because I felt like a disconnect to certain degrees with like just, not having certain levels of money. Again, the stuff from the past is coming up and it's kind of messing with you. Took some time out from college, went back and finished. Then I needed to, eventually got married, but then there was stuff from the past that came into the marriage, which led to my marriage kind of going funky or what have you. And at this point, it was kind of like at a place where we're like breaking apart. But it's all going back to the childhood traumas, and in that case, not knowing how to love, not seeing the love in my own house as a young child, so kind of get stuck in my childhood body with like what I knew love to be, and never really receiving it, and so then taking that into a relationship. So and then there was a point where, because I'm pushing the love away and not being able to respond properly or on the conscious level, it just didn't feel right, even though maybe somewhere subconsciously I knew better, but it doesn't always work like that because if there's a disconnect, what you're aware of is going to be the thing that gets promoted or gets seen or gets demonstrated in your life. So eventually, kept going, and then eventually keep asking questions. More information, went on this more personal development journey. A lot of books, thousands and thousands of hours of audios, read a bunch of books, stuff like that. But that's the personal journey of like making myself better, even though I don't need to be better. We're already better, but kind of undoing some things. Then the marriage situations kind of split up, still married, but then, just sort of in different households. And there was a conversation, or Lisa would say, like, we need to be apart and we need to kind of work on ourselves. And I took that to heart, because already on my journey, I was already questioning certain aspects of life, and there's more to life, and, I can do more, and not just saying it, right, but like having a level of understanding, like not just like saying it in a cliche way that we say, like very cliche, oh, we can do more, we can do anything, right? But somewhere that was in me, resident in me, and speaking to me to say, like, go figure this out or ask or whatever, right? So I'm on my journey in this relationship. That didn't work out because I wasn't ready, because of how I was living in terms of being able to receive the love, and so I was pushing that away. And then starting like definitely in the last 9 years is when I went heavy into like the affirmations, additional books, exercises like just different exercises. Like there was one I did, there's a motivational speaker by the name of Lisa Nichol. She said, every day write 7 things you were proud of yourself for, 7 things you forgave yourself for, and 7 things you committed. So I did that for like over a year. And then I stopped writing things that I forgave myself for, because I started feeling like I cleared myself up in that space. Then there was another exercise I did. There's a book called The Greatest Salesman by
Og Mandingo. Yeah.
Og Mandino. And he, in the back of the book, are these 10 scrolls, and he tells you how to do the scrolls, like what the exercise was. So I just concentrated on the scrolls. And the scrolls are very powerful because they're basically like, the first scroll is like, today I begin my day anew, right? And you do that where there's a scroll and there's like several pages, each scroll is several pages, and you would read it in the morning, I think in your head, and then at midday or wherever around lunch you read it aloud, and then at night you read it again. So it's supposed to be 3 times a day. Um, and you did that every scroll. You did like 3 times a day for like about for like 30 days, and you moved on to the next scroll. But I didn't necessarily read it 3 times, but I definitely did the exercise at least a couple times. And I did that where I went through all 10 scrolls, because it takes you about 10 months, 30 days each, right, before you get to the 10 scrolls. And then I started over on the scrolls. But I did like the first few, and then I stopped. So I did that, a lot of writing in journal, like, affirmations. I am great. I'm wonderful. I love myself. I love my life, like different things like that. I love my family. Just kept going with that. Also just learning to, and I was already this level of a person to a degree, like just being consistent and committed, getting up early. And I just started doing more of that, getting up early at times, like adding certain parts into my repertoire, like exercising every day. I was ready at that point doing affirmations and things like that, but just kept building on that, being more committed, showing up. Eventually, like you get more aware, you ask, you start changing your language. In my case, changing my language, not that my language is correct, but just building on it, adding more powerful language, being careful what you say. When you do something, making sure like I didn't like start something and not finish, because cycles of incompletion like basically like could destroy your life in a sense, because if you just always like just start things and never finish, then that becomes the kind of like the person you are. Right. So just
pattern.
So all that stuff. And then more recently was the plant retreats, which we'll talk about here, is like the ayahuascas, and I did that, and DMTs. I mean, all of that's more recent in the last couple plus years. But that was those are like the chronic achievements, if you will, because they actually, once I had done all of that work, all those things were really showing me was like the confirmations of the work that I had done. So like when I learned about ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a plant medicine out of the Central America, like down in those parts, and it's I don't want to go too much in it, but it's a plant that can really like help you to really see where you are in terms of like pointing you to parts in your past and things that you need to deal with like shadow work that you may need to deal with, and just working on the things that you need to work on yourself to overcome, like issues that you're having with being a better person in the world and showing up and being enlightened and being loving and whatever it is, right? So anyway, so when I did ayahuasca, it was more of like celebratory, because it was showing me that this is where you were saying this, and this is where that, and this was like taking me through my life and showing me that like I was on this path and I was okay, and then it also said to me like I was given a new slate. So everything that I might have happened, and not that I had this crazy whatever life, but it was like you get a new slate, and it's not ayahuasca, it's really God talking to you, but that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, you get a new slate, and now everything you do going forward is like extra credit, right? So for me, but it was also showing me like a lot of reward is coming. And the way that I understood it, which it was nothing to understand, because the truth was that all of this work that I had been doing was me planting so many seeds into the world. Like I talked about those quotes that I passed out to people hundreds a day for years on end, that becomes like a ripple effect, because just because you send it out to 100 people or 200 a day, that's not 200, because this person's like, I'm passing it to this person and that or whatever, and you're just planting seed after seed after seed. So I planted all those seeds, and it was just showing me like your rewards are going to be like infinite. So it was like so overwhelming for me, just seeing that, because I was like,
it's a powerful journey. Thank you for sharing that, brother. That's amazing. Perhaps you could tell me about your routines. How does it look for you, Reggie, when you get up and you rise? What goes on in Reggie's world?
one of the first things I do is I say thank you. Usually, like I'll get up and it's already in my consciousness to say thank you. So I think about even my friend. I was already saying thank you, or I started down that path as I like transform into like how I want to start my day. And my friend, he says like, and we have these conversations in a group on this Clubhouse's application. We do what's called the Wake Up and Win call. And he's like, sometimes like people wake up like it's like an automatic, right? Like, oh, you get up and you should be shocked and surprised to get up, right? Like, and I call it the wow factor, which for me is like the wide open window, because this is what I built off of that, like the wide open window to start your day anew and get another opportunity. So for me, like again, it's in thank you. So a lot of time right away, I'm thank you, and I'll say thank you like could be dozens of times, and I might even say it 100 times, whatever. So I'm saying thank you and getting on the floor, especially in the morning when I'm going to work, or immediately to start my exercise routine from some certain level of push-ups to like sit-ups to squats to dips. I do mostly just the calisthenics, some like a certain type of stretch. Like I may do what's called the Chinese squat or the Slavic squat. So I do that. Then I also read this printout I have from this guy Stuart Wilde. It's called there's a book that he wrote, the 33 Steps to Reclaiming Your Inner Power, and that printout is a printout that came along with the book, you know, on Audible, and it has like these 33. I'll get it I'll just get it real quick.
Yeah, I'm making a note of that. I'm gonna leave all the show notes, because I definitely gonna put that 33 steps to what?
To Reclaiming Your Inner Power. That's one of the books
Reclaiming.
by Stuart Wilde. He has like nearly 20 books, but he was one of and is one of my biggest mentors, and he passed away some not too long ago, but he has some powerful stuff. So in this, one of the things is I do every day, as you asked about my routine, this sheet that I read, it starts out with I am infinite, I'm one with God force. My inner awareness begins with the God force in me and expands outward. I have the courage to go beyond my ordinary limited perceptions, which I don't have any limits, so I don't say that, but I read it this way. So I'm really thinking unlimited. I listen for and accept the inner guidance from my spirit. From spirit, I accept negativity as a learning experience and transmute it. So that's the alchemy, as you talk about being an alchemist. Transmute it into an opportunity for growth. What I know about the world, I've learned from prevalent belief patterns. I now look beyond those patterns for my own infinite good. I commit myself to building my highest wisdom and power beyond the weakness of the ego. I am the master of my own destiny. So that's just 8 of the 33. So I read that pretty much every day. And then from there, I go into this routine. Well, it's not always in this exact way, but this is just saying what's a part of my day, early rising, or just even throughout. I do this prayer where I pray for the world, and there's a certain way that I do that. Then I'll do like these affirmations where I talk about like I say about the I ams, the I feel, the I know, the I see, I speak, the I do, and I see, I speak, I feel, I do, I know, I am, and I love. So I do all of those. And then I talk about in my head, because I used to write stuff in journals, but now the journaling is in my mind. And then I'll say in my mind the things that I value. And then I say in my mind the things, how I feel, right? And then it's just a repetition of these things. I feel, I see, I am love, I am peace, I am love. I see greatness in all, like, and I just go through all these kind of recitations. And then there's a shower in there and those things, whatever, that type of stuff. And then maybe throughout is like, maybe depending on, I do reading, especially I read this book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, over and over and over and over again. But I have both the bigger copy and the pocket size one. I've read the pocket one 90 times this year. So I keep reading the same stuff, the 7 spiritual, because I am embodying it, but I want to I do extra credit. So even if I'm like, kind of like the practice part, even if you're perfect at the piano or playing an instrument, the person or the individuals keep doing it, right? So even that I read this, but someone says, I saw that before, I read that before or whatever, and I'm just kind of like, but it doesn't matter. You can do it infinite times. So my life is about infinite times of doing the things that I know that will transform me to being this, God inspired or God being on this earth. So whatever is necessary, if I have to do a thing a bunch of times, it doesn't matter. So that is part of my day. And it's a combination of that. And then I just add to stuff. I may read like 2 books in a day. One other book is As a Man Thinketh, or As You Think is the other title. My own book.
That's James Allen.
Yeah, I read that book and listened to it probably 100+ times in my life.
Yeah.
So what happens is you become this, or you start to be this, right? So this is really, you start asking like these questions is like I created myself, or I built myself, or I brought myself out of these books and out of the things that I do, and I just keep building. I just keep adding to it, because I'm a creator, and we all are. And the more you create, the more you feel abundant, because If you're creating, you're putting out life. But if you're just like consuming, you're taking away life. So that if you want to feel the abundance within you, it's already in you. So just bring it out of you. So create, and you'll start to continue to come alive, right? And feel the way, as you say, to have like a stunning day, you'll have a stunning life.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, how about your book? How do you see it being used, like in the future? Like, just continue to be like this daily reflections, or group discussions, or perhaps in a school setting?
Let, let me give you words that weren't even my words, but just how it works, right? Because like you can create something, and because I know how divinely powerful it is, I know this because it's the way it came to me, right? And couple people use the word Bible with my book, meaning almost as if to use it like a form of a Bible. Now, someone will throw at me that's sacrilege, right? And I'm not the one who said this, right? You could say, but I'm saying to you what people have said because of what the book has. Well, one didn't read the book, but that just came out of her, and I wasn't shocked because I get how this stuff can be created because of what you create, and then what you then, because of your creation, what that will create or what that's going to bring out of people. But there's a friend of mine who when because I played before I actually released it on the different Audible platforms, and I played it for her in my car. I was dropping her home. She was looking at me like she wanted to sop me up with a biscuit, right? Because it was so powerful to her, and she was just like, wow. And then later she says to me, because I actually that same day I gave her a physical copy of it. I just like dedicated a physical copy, and then she shared with me in text. She's like, I use your book like the Bible, right? Like, so how I see the book being used as part of your life, right? Just like using it in a way where, you wake up and you just read one page, or you read multiple pages, you read the whole book, you come back to it, you listen to the audio because you can read it. That's one way of administering the medicine, or you can listen to it, right? There are different modalities to taking this information, right? Where I would push people, and I'm not saying necessarily push them literally, but push them or just encourage them to stop saying I got it like you did it one time, or to stop pausing and waiting, or right, okay, maybe not my book but somebody else, but we're talking about my book. Read the book over and over, listen to it over and over. I listened to my own stuff over, and it came out of me, because this is how you start to, because even as you do it once, there's a different you tomorrow, there's a different you in the next 5 minutes. It's not the same way you're going to receive that information, right? The information you're transforming by the infinitesimally small period of time. So as you move forward, you in the next minute is different from you last minute. So you might hear the book, even as you say, I heard that already. You might have not caught something, or you might now pick it up because your consciousness raised, and that book can then help to promote something more in you. So I'm saying use it as a daily tool as often as you need to, as I use the different tools that I have included in my book to constantly unfold the version of me, or the me that is meant to be in the world, which is the full me, right? So that you don't miss out presenting a part of you that's meant to be presented in the world. We miss out presenting a lot of ourselves each and every day, which ends up for a lot of us going in the casket and in the ground. But if you have infinite consciousness, you're going to be what you need to be. In a book like this and other books and tools can help you to resonate that energy, or to be that way that you need to be each and every day.
That's super powerful, brother. So we're coming up on the time. How about if there was just one message that you would want your book to convey? What would you think that would be?
The biggest, or one of the biggest messages, and I said this in multiple interviews, is, and it comes down to being open, but then on top of that is to show up for yourself. Because I watch many of us each and every day, and I'm not going to point out, because I am putting everyone on blast that way, and sometimes I say stuff and people say, oh, you think you're better. No, I'm just living a certain way, which shows awareness. And even if I share with like flowers and lights and candy and whatever, you still may say something. Or if I shared a little bit more, like a little stronger, so I'm just going to say it. The point of it is show up for yourself. Wake up every day to win. Wake up every day with some level of purpose, right? And stop oversleeping or waking up in negativity and looking at the life as something that you look back in the past and say, oh, yesterday was this way and the day before that was this. And so taking that into today, because that's not how it works. Once you get to a state of awareness, or you work towards it, you're open to it, you can get a state of awareness, as I talk about when I say waking up, wide open window. Every single day could be completely a brand new day. Whereas like nothing even mattered in the past, which in the sense it doesn't, but we tend to think it does. And we can start over right now, because you have people that like turn their lives around, per se, whatever that term means, in a matter of days, weeks, months, right? So what is happening in that person? Usually it's like some kind of intervention, whether divine intervention, somebody steps into their life, they have some awakening, as you use the word awakening, right? So my thing is like, what do I want to leave people with? It's like, show up for yourself, show up with the right personality, with the right energy, with the positivity, with the right language, with the right actions, with the right, speak, with inviting people the way you're supposed to be, as I would say, going to this book that I like to kind of bring up, and I brought up in an interview, the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was a
Yes, naturally. I thought of that. Yes.
and in the book, chapter 7 or book 7, he talks about how people wake up and complaining, and they're in the bed and they're like, but he's like, if you look out in nature, you don't see nature, anybody complaining out there. And the short of it, he says, is like, wake up to do the job of a human. But because we're really spirits in the body, I'm going to say wake up to do the job of a spirit in the human body, right? And it goes back to what I'm saying, which in part is to like be open, be receptive, be this, that. And there's more to that. Be loving, be kind, be caring. And you sound like a Buddha. Yes, we should be all of those things, because those are the practices that when we look at these different texts, whether you look at the Torah, you look at the Quran, you look at the Bible, there's the same stuff in there. One of which I talked about how you want to be treated and how you want the world to be, and all these types of things. It's all embodied in all these texts. Well, let's live that way. And once we do, we'll see our lives transform and we'll see the world transform, but not making declarations or making statements where we don't want to do certain things because we have a certain attitude or because somebody wronged us or whatever. No, now you're creating your own law, which isn't working. It's clearly not working. I'm looking at you, the individual, and I can see that. I can see it as your body tells a score or keeps the score, and your face keeps the score. But if you release all of that and you actually start loving people and sharing whatever, and as people will say to me, you look so free, you look so, because I've decided to be. I decided to be. We are human beings or spirit beings, and all of these beings, when you just be, there is nothing else to that recipe. The be is a recipe. It doesn't need anything else. So be open, be kind, be loving, be caring, be receptive, be all of those things, but don't be the opposite, like the negative. Don't be negative. Don't be nasty. Don't be. Being at its highest form is when you're at that highest consciousness, will resonate the energy and the love and the light and all of those types of things, where that's what you're going to show every day. So those are the things that I would like to leave with. And I could go on. Stop there.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. I tell you what, we'll come back and check you in a few months, see where you're at. And the book is doing amazing on Amazon. So we're going to leave all those information and show notes. That way people can get in touch with you. And I'm looking forward to gifting that book many times over again. Thank you so much, brother, for your energy. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Pleasure to be there for everyone, because this is what I'm doing it for. I'm doing this for the world.
That's it. Well, thank you so much, everybody, that's tapping in. Until the next time.